Good morning. Let me get this situated here so I can see what I'm doing. Good morning. It is Master Study Monday. We do this, I've been doing this every Monday, and I love it when people join me.
3-stack day for Judy Blues, one for Yumi and her.
Sorry about that. We always have a few hiccups when we first begin, just to make sure things are working right. What's everybody up to? What are you doing today? I am painting a study. Very important. I keep telling myself that. Of Henri Fantin-Latour. My French is awful. I do not speak French, and so my accent is terrible. What I'm doing here right now is I'm just sort of doing like a quick little value study. You can see the reference photo up here. What I'm using is just a burnt umber, and I'm doing a portion of the painting. Usually we're here for a couple of hours, maybe less, maybe more. I have paints that are similar to what he would have chosen, not necessarily the exact same colors. He tended to paint in glazes and very thin layers, and I'm painting this all in one, so the techniques are going to be a little bit different. He would have done an underpainting, let it dry, come back, glazed over it, let that dry, come back. You get the idea. He would have worked very meticulously on this himself. But because we have time limits, and this is just a study, I want to learn about him, and I want to try and do a replica, not exact. It doesn't have to be exact, but just kind of an idea of what his work looked like. Master studies are something that you can do, anybody can do, that really help improve your painting skills or drawing, whatever it is that you're doing. What I'm using here is burnt umber and just some mineral spirits. Let me smush that up there. The colors, let me get that a little bigger. The colors that I'm using on my palette, which are over here. Come on, make it a little bigger. There we go. He would have used a lead or flake white. I don't have any lead white. I tend to use a titanium white, not only because it's more readily available, but because of safety. Lead is not the healthiest paint to use on a regular basis. Besides, I'm very messy, which is why I have gloves. Unless your paint says on it, on the label, that it says that it is non-toxic, assume that those chemicals are going to absorb into your skin. And if you paint a lot, it could, yeah, it's not good. I like to take precautions and use gloves no matter what I'm painting. But he would have used a lead white. Let me scoot this over so you can see my messy palette. He would have used a lead white, an ivory black, or charcoal black. He would have used it very sparingly though. For the reds and the pinks, I don't know if you could see it in the sample, in the reference photo. Thank you. My brain went. But there's some pinks in there. So for that, I've got some alizarin crimson and a little bit of, what is that? Vermilion. And then for yellows, I've got yellow ochre and some cad yellow medium. And then for blue, I didn't put my blue out. I'll have to fix that. He used a ultramarine blue or a cobalt sometimes. I'm just reaching over here getting my ultramarine blue, wherever it went to. Where are you? My ultramarine blue. We wouldn't need a whole lot of it on this one. Ugh, my lid's... My lid's caught. That is Poncho. There's some ultramarine blue. My tube just burst open. So I'm going to have to probably put this into another tube. I have empty tubes that I can transfer, or I can fill. And this tube has been, it's been pretty sad for a while. Let me just get a little bit of ultramarine blue over here though. And then I'll just set that to the side and pray it doesn't get on everything. Hence gloves. I wish I was one of those painters that had their paints very neatly laid out, and maybe someday. For today, right now, this is what we're dealing with. His browns would have been raw umber or burnt umber and a burnt sienna. This is burnt umber right here. That dark, dark brown. I'm just getting a couple of extra paper towels because I wasn't expecting to have to clean up a tube. Let me get that tube. And we'll set it over here so it doesn't get all over everything. Okay. Now we're back to business. He was born in January 14th, 1836 in Grenoble, France. So he has been gone for a while. I'm just trying to, I'm doing the vase down to about here, and these are dark areas that you can see inside the vase where the greenery is showing through. His father, Theodore Fantin-Latour, was it Tain? Yes, Fantin-Latour was a portrait painter who gave Henri his first training. The family moved to Paris when Henri was young, when he studied at the École des Beaux-Arts and spent time studying old masters in the Louvre. Now, I just want to clarify again, this is a study and not a copy. There are some artists on YouTube that do amazing copies. I wish I had pulled up some names, because if that's something you're looking for, I saw one the other day that was just, it just blew me away. He tended to use mixed neutrals in his hues for a very subtle effect. He didn't have anything flashy or really bright. He would use thin glazes to build depth rather than a heavy paint. Backgrounds were often grayish brown or muted green-blue, which made the flower colors appear more luminous. Now in this one, it's sort of a muted greenish blue, a kind of a grayed down. And then this flower and this one and the little petals you can see over here are all very pale pinkish. So they're contrasting each other. In 1876, Mr. Fontaine got married to Victoria Dubourg. Again, forgive my pronunciation. In 1840, and she was also a painter, and she was known for her own still lifes and floral work. They did not have any children, but they shared a deep interest in painting, in art, and worked side by side. After marriage, they lived in Ornay, Normandy, at the Dubourg family home, which became a retreat in Paris. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and mix a bluish green to use for this background. So I'm taking some ultramarine here, a little bit of yellow ochre, mix in some white in there. I'm going to have to get more white. That's pretty close. It's kind of a grayed down. That's pretty darn close. If you can't see it, this is what I've got right here for the background. It shows up a little darker on your camera or on your, rather than waste that paint, I'll just, by the way, this paper that I'm using, excuse me, it's a Bristol paper that I have gessoed a couple of times. So it's got a good layer of protection on it from the oil paint. See, that looks pretty close. Just kind of fill that in very loosely. I put some fresh paint out here on my palette so that I didn't have any problems with I'm pulling out my phone to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, we're good. Okay, just make sure. Good to make sure. If you don't want to sit through this entire thing, because this can take a couple of hours, depending upon my desire for how close I want it. There will be a time lapse and a short made from this. I love this color. I didn't really think I would that much, but it's nice. I taped this down so that when I, not only so it kind of stretches the paper while it's getting gessoed, it also gives a really nice clean edge if it comes off correctly when I'm finished painting. I hope everybody had a good weekend and took good care of their mental health. I am in the United States, and it is September 15th as I am recording this. So last week was historic. Let me put it that way. I'll just we'll just leave it there. What I'm doing is just putting down the base colors, and then I'll go back and put in more of the detail work areas. That area got a little more yellow ochre, but I think I'm going to go with it. Look at that. We mixed almost the exact right amount for this. There's a little left over for adjustments, but it covered it pretty well. Some say that he was, Fantin-Latour was reserved, very modest, and just kind of cleaning up any big. I've been having trouble with my paint taking way too long to dry, and then I can't flip the page. So what I was doing there was knocking back any large clumpy areas I had. He was very modest and serious, in contrast to many of the more flamboyant impressionists in his circle. I'm trying to pick a paintbrush over here. Well, I think I need to get some of that white in there for the roses. He was friendly with artists like Monet, Whistler, Degas, but he didn't really join the Impressionist movement. He preferred to go his own way. Which I respect. I'm only blocking in one of my big problems has been my white not drying, but I don't think I'm going to be able to avoid it on this one because I'm going to have to get some details in there. Boop. Make that little boop out there. Now these are not going to be exact. You know, as the outline, and they're going to have to be adjusted. Like I can see that that's, I'm going to have to bring that green in around here. I do not get as many views on these artists that are not really well known by the general public. I did not know about this gentleman, so that's one of the reasons I do this, is for self-education and just to challenge myself. to paint kind of like somebody else would. Look at this. There's some green back there too of a leaf poking through. There we go. Let's see what else he had going on. He had strong relationships with writers and musicians. Music played a huge role in his imagination, including Wagner and Berlioz. Sorry, like I said, please forgive me for. Music was his great passion outside of painting. I wish I could play a musical instrument. I think he had listed as color, what was it? There was a green, oh, Viridian or sap green. Okay. The reason I was looking was because I want to start putting in this greenish in here. And I've got some sap green over here. It tends to be very translucent though, or it is very translucent. So let's see what we can. Let's see. I'm putting in the dark areas first. No particular reason, it's just the paint out of the tube is closer to that. Again, there's some areas in here that need some work. I try to keep all these in a particular sketchbook, but because the dry time has not always been working toward me, I've got a couple of them I'm flipping through and a few that I've done on individual pages. But I always gesso them ahead of time. It's very... Yeah, there we go. He regularly attended concerts in Paris. Which I love hearing, no pun intended. We are big music lovers in this household. Even though I cannot play an instrument, all my grandchildren can. Which I am very thankful for. I should specify one of them doesn't play. She tried it and it wasn't her thing, so that was the only thing that her parents asked, was that she give it a semester. These leaves are so gorgeous on his, I mean. They're just, yeah. It's going to take some work to get the details down on the leaves, but just with the brush strokes alone, we've done pretty well on the base layer. I love sap green. It's just so, I don't know. Just something about it. I mixed in a little bit of burnt umber into this pale green with the white because of the watery area. I thought I was going to need more white, but I don't think I do. There's probably also a little yellow ochre in there. You'll notice there's no like bright highlights on things. There's no, that's crooked, isn't it? There's no dramatic lighting effect. It's very, this is what it would look like if it were sitting in your home type of feel to it. I'm just making sure there's no questions or anything that I'm missing. It's kind of quiet today. It's okay. It's a Monday, and we all had a rough week last week, you know. But, hey, Laura's there. Hey, Laura, how are you doing? Long time no see. This leaf back here is kind of purplish almost. It's not a green. It's got kind of a purple hue to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some alizarin crimson and just a little bit of cobalt, oops, or not cobalt, ultramarine. Now I got it too much. There we go. I'll have to put some, have to lighten that up. It's like one of the leaves is starting to age. And it needs some help. And there. In my mind, I think I'm going to have to really take my time on the roses themselves. I'm already intimidating myself, which is probably not going to help me at all. Well, of course it's not. I'm going to close in some of this. I like his just very simple subject matter. It's very almost, dare I say, calming. Last week really affected me. I did not took me a little bit, had to take a beat. Which, if you can do that, I strongly suggest it. I was watching a lot of TikTok and YouTube and thinking about what I want to do in Q4. I do have a goal of getting more subscribers. I have a number in mind, and I'm going to push toward it. I haven't written it down yet, so in general terms, what I need are more subs, and I need to do more shorts. I have a course by Daryl Eves that I need to, which is a YouTube thing, which I need to go through. So I guess a little bit of a highlight in there. Yeah, I didn't realize Laura is in the chat, and we both do a thing called HB90, which is a Sarah Cannon thing. I don't have a link in the description or anything. I used to, and I removed it. I'm not really sure why at this point. I think I was just getting too many links in there, and it was getting overwhelming. If you looked at it, you wouldn't know where to click. Anyway, HB90 is a quarterly planning system. And there is a course you can take, which you have lifetime access to, but the kickoff call was yesterday. So this quarter is already started, and you cannot purchase it, unfortunately. But once you purchase it, you have lifetime access. And I don't mean to seem like I'm selling it. I am one of Sarah's admins for her YouTube group because I had a spell where I was writing a lot, and I found her group unbelievably supportive. But the thing is, I went to the kickoff call yesterday. I watched the replay. Sorry, I didn't go to the actual one. And I noticed she has expanded the thinking of the planning more for creatives in general, which I love that she's done that. I don't think I watched it, the last one or two, because after you get the system down, I didn't feel like I really needed to, but now I know I probably did. Anywho's, that's what we're talking about with HB90 if you're in chat. Hey Rivera, how are you? What are you doing? Yeah, it was really, really good. You need to watch the replay. I watched the replay. I realized it was, the kickoff day was yesterday. I realized it about an hour after it had already ended. And so I immediately went to the replay, just hoping it would help me basically get my shit together. It was, there's a new, I'll just say this, there's a new coin or phrase coined this time called choose your chicken. I'll just say that. And some of us in admin are thinking t-shirts, and I know I myself and one other person mentioned getting rubber chickens to have on our desk to help remind us. I'm sure my husband's wondering what the heck there's a rubber chicken on the Walmart list, but sorry dear, but your wife is weird if you don't know it by now. Our dog will not play with squeaky toys. They scare him. So, it's a good one. It really is. I'm not just, like I said, I haven't been to it in a while. And I found this one the best one yet. I wish I had, because I am an affiliate, but I wish I had thought ahead of time and had been pushing for people to purchase it, but alas. Sarah Cannon does have other videos on YouTube that you don't have to pay for, that are on planting. Or planning, sorry. I know I said planting. That are free on her channel, on Heart Breathings or Sarah Cannon. If you miss the boat this time around, you can gather a lot of information that way. I mean, it's not as in-depth or and you can also purchase the planner that she uses for this. You can purchase it on Etsy. I think it's like $15-ish. It is a digital download. And I don't know if she has the digital version. It's one where you can print it out. I don't know if she has the digital version on Etsy yet or not, where you can go in like GoodNotes and write on it, you know. I know she had it for the people that signed up for the class. Now this is that grayish I'm using here, this grayish blue, is a mixture of ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Yeah, I need to bring that in. By the way, what I've done on my screen, on my iPad that's in front of me with the reference photo, is I've gone in and blown it up. So I can see what I'm dealing with here. Because this is not looking to me like what he has. But it's a study, right? It's not a copy. I have to keep telling myself that. Mr. Latour. His final years, after decades of success with his floral still lifes and lithographs, he gradually withdrew from the Paris art scene. And I totally understand it. As someone who does not find joy in Laura's my #1 supporter. I was thinking of you today. We haven't talked on Messenger for a while. I'm trying to get this little rose here to look the way I want it to look, and I'm missing the mark. Oh, Laura's been away from the computer for a while. I forgot you're went back to your profession, your official profession, your former profession, your, what do we call it? He spent more time in Bure with Victoria painting flowers from their garden than he did with the art scene. Sounds like he was probably an introvert, I would assume, in the whole... I'm just totally pulling this out of my butt. Sorry. Pulling this out of my nether regions. But it sounds like he was not one that gained energy from being around a lot of other people, which I can relate. Oh, I bet. Laura just said that work was really tiring. She has a very stressful profession too, so it's... I wouldn't personally know because I've never done her profession, but I can only imagine. And part of doing, I know I keep going back to this, and it has, I don't know what it has to do with painting other than personal goals that we all tend to, I know I do have in mind. Use a Kanban board, which is like you break down your task into smaller steps, or your goals. In a creative person, I think it's more of by project, or by, you know, I don't think you can really, I couldn't really break this down into exactly how long it's going to take me, or if I'm working on one of my own. He had a lifelong, Henri Fantin-Latour had a lifelong friendship with James Whistler, the American painter. They met, let me get this. The two met in Paris in the 1850s when both were studying and copying old masters at the Louvre, and they influenced each other. Whistler introduced Fantin to British art dealers, which helped Fantin build his strong reputation in England. Oh, I didn't notice that light was coming through the window. Here, I can take care of that. Give me just one moment. There we go. I haven't been worrying about that because I've been working on the larger easel, doing some of my own work, and the light through this window in front of me actually helps. It gives an ambient light that's very nice when I'm on the other side of the room. ambiance. I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow in there. Yellow. Let's see. Fantin in turn introduced Whistler to artists in Paris, including Manet and Courbet. Manet and Courbet. Fantin also painted portraits of Whistler. One is in the Muséum d'Orsay. Again, please forgive my poor pronunciation. I once had a professor suggest I learn German over the summer, and I thought he was joking, because me and languages were not on the same wavelength. Yeah, as a study, I could probably stop here, and we've only been going an hour, but I'm going to keep going and get this fine-tuned a little bit more. Another interesting thing about Fantin, even though he was best known for still lifes and portraits, he secretly longed to be recognized as a history painter, like Delacroix. His music-inspired lithographs were part of that ambition. They let him express imagination, myth, and drama beyond, quote-unquote, just flowers. And I know that feeling. I know wanting your work to have more meaning. I think we all do to some degree. You don't want it to just be more filler. You want it to have some substance to it. Even if you're writing like smut novels, as they're known, you want them to have an impact on people in a positive fashion. You want it to matter. And not that smut novels are a lesser in any way. Or romance novels. I think I'm going to get on a tirade here if I'm not careful. But romance novels were considered a female thing. Therefore, they were considered lesser than by society. And then Nicholas Sparks came on the scene. All of a sudden, he was doing what women had been doing, authors had been doing for ages, in my opinion. Granted, his are not adult topics, but I don't know. I find that interesting. Just something to ponder. Mainly what I'm doing is just adding detail to these little, where I just filled it in with the base color. Henri Fantin-Latour was right in the middle of the 19th century Paris art world. Even in his quiet style, sometimes made him seem like an outsider. But he still made some key artistic connections. Edward Manet. Fantin admired Manet and painted him in a studio in La Batignolles, Batignolles. I looked it up and I recognized the painting. I cannot pronounce it. Basically, it is a bunch of very influential artists standing in a studio and sitting there in a studio around an easel. Though he respected Manet's bold modernism, Fantin didn't adopt impressionist brushwork. He preferred careful realism. You see, I don't think I have this dark enough. The shadowy area, or the highlighty area where the light's shining through. So I'm gonna try and darken that just a little. He was also friends with, or had connections with, and I don't know how close they were, with Degas, which I think we all are familiar with. If not, he's a necessity to know for art history. Gustave Courbet. He briefly worked in Courbet's studio. That's too light. It's a great thing about oil is you can just mix in some more color or take it off. The reference photo that I'm showing on here is it noon? Oh yeah, it is. Is so high detailed that I can see the weave and the fabric of the canvas. But that also shows how thinly he glazed these. Now I'm not glazing these because I'm doing this all a prima, all in one. Courbet's realism influenced him, especially in early portraiture. You like that? I like that. I like how that the water in here looks. Okay, this needs a little darkening. So it goes with the other. Heather! Hey guys, what are you doing? I'm just checking chat intermittently because I'll get to doing stuff. He has that little highlight thingy right here has a blue in it. I think it might be a cobalt blue though, or even like a phthalo. But I'm gonna go ahead and use my ultramarine because I'm lazy and see if it works. If it doesn't, I will make alterations. Yeah, that's not working. Yeah, a little yellow. Yellow, mellow yellow. We were just talking, Heather, about HB90. I think Heather has sprints going on right now on her channel. I'm not trying to get you to leave or anything, but if you're working on something and you are looking for background, you know, or just people to hang out with, I have sprints on my other channel, and that's all I do over there. And they're on Tuesday, Thursday afternoons when I'm able to do them. Thursday I was supposed to have them, and we had roof being replaced. And I did not see it when they had the roof removed. But my husband was leaving for work as they had it torn off and said it was a really good thing we were doing it. I think he was surprised at how rough it looked. Oh, okay. It was just a coffee chat stream. Okay. Heather has one of those places where you can take things that you don't use. You know, like you've got a bunch of knitting stuff and you no longer knit, and you'd rather have a bunch of oil paints or whatnot. She can take that stuff there and like trade it, sort of. It's sort of like a used bookstore, only for art supplies. And I'm jealous. I wish we had something like that here. We did get lucky enough to get a wonderful bookstore. I mean, yeah, I am so happy about our bookstore. It's a family friend that owns it, and oh man, bless her. It is awesome. She charges retail price, but as an independent bookstore, I'm okay with paying that, especially here where it's like 2 hours to get to a bookstore. Literally, it's 2 hours. It is a major drive. It's a day trip, essentially, because if you bother going over there, you're going to go to other places while you're at it. It's a Barnes & Noble. That's the closest ones we have, and they are, yeah, they're 2 hours away. We were, my 7-year-old grandson, I'm thinking because I think he's 7, and and us, his mother and siblings, were at the bookstore, and he made a comment about, after this, let's go to Barnes & Noble. I just, honey, I wish we could. Wish we could, babe. I'm very thankful that my grandchildren are readers, are you know, book and music people. At least now while they're young. And I don't care what kind of music they listen to, as long as it speaks to them. I don't really. I didn't do a lot of policing of my children's music, because to me it's a very personal thing. Okay, I'm getting on a soapbox. Gustave Courbet. Fantin briefly worked in his studio, but Fontaine avoided Courbet's politics and provocation, preferring quieter themes. Richard Wagner and musicians in general. He never met Wagner personally, but was profoundly inspired by music. That's what started the whole music discussion there. His lithographs, like The Rhine or Twilight of the Gods, are attempts to translate Wagner's operas into visual form. Sorry if that sound is... I want to get that whiter, and that's difficult to do when there's a lot of dark on there. You're working wet on wet without putting it on really thick. I wish we had one of those art shops. I really do. Really, really do. We don't have an art supply store either anywhere. It's a 2-hour drive also. I love where I live though. Don't get me wrong. Those are the only downfalls. And I can order things online. I know it's not the same, but you know, maybe next time I go through my stuff and like just I've been known to just give stuff away. And people have done that for me too, just giving stuff to me. But maybe next time I need to box it up and send it to Heather so she can get some supplies. I've been watching gel plate printing. There was one that just I wish I had saved it. I sent my husband a link to it. But it made me want to learn how to do it. I've never done it. Heather does gel plate. There's just some beautiful work out there with gel plates. I had no idea you could do some of the things that people do with them. It's amazing. Now I'm not going to get each little petal exactly as he did because again, it's not a copy, it's a study. But I do want to get at least the feel of it. He also loved, excuse me, Berlioz, Berlioz. This is talking about music, and Schumann, making images that paid tribute to them. So he was both inside and outside the Paris avant-garde. He was friends with the rebels, but he quietly followed his own path. Building his career on still lifes and lyrical lithographs while keeping deep respect for tradition. One of my areas when I was in grad school was printmaking, and we were beyond fortunate enough to be able to do lithographs on the old stone plates, or you know, the lithograph stones. And it was just, it was a wonderful opportunity. I wish I could go back and do more of those, because I don't think I really took full advantage of it. I just wanted to get the grade, basically. And get back to my painting. Okay, this one needs a little bit more pinkish to it. It looks pretty gray, doesn't it? I've got kind of a puddle here of alizarin crimson and vermilion, I believe it is. He believed in slow, careful observation. So he was not one to just get in and get out. He wanted you to really look at it, or he wanted to really look at it. And like I said, build up layers. On his preparation for his work, for his still lifes, he often worked on neutral or grayish background, which brought out the brilliance of the flowers, which we talked about earlier. The fact that this is kind of a bluish green, and then these are pink, was intentional, because they're complementaries. Probably can hear my clock ticking over there. I've got a regular clock in here, so I don't have to scroll up. His compositions were usually simple, centered arrangements, flowers in plain vases, against dark or muted backgrounds. There was no clutter. And that's what gives his work a calm, almost meditative quality. His brushwork was smooth and controlled with minimal visible strokes. His edges were softened but never lost. He wanted precision. Yeah, they were great. You had to grind them down. You know, like sort of like you do, like stones in a rock grinder. to polish stones, you had to hand grind them down to get a smooth surface. We had a special sink that we used just to do it. Think of like a huge laundry, or what is that kit called? You know, the country sinks. And you would like put the pumice on there or whatever, and yeah, there were different grades, and you ground it down until it was smooth. So every time you used one, if you wanted to use it again, you had to grind it to get it off of there to reuse it. It was we had huge press. It was wonderful. We had huge presses, and our professor was really nice. He was a really good guy, and he was born to be a teacher. He met his wife, interestingly enough, when he had first started teaching at the college. He dropped one of those stones on her foot and broke her foot. And he went to see her in the hospital. And the rest is history. Now, mind you, this was 40 years ago, when he would have been just starting. So before anybody says anything about Professor, his intentions were honorable. They wound up getting married, and they were still married. And he would have been just a couple of years older than her. He wouldn't have been that old. It's not like a, yeah. I'm looking at my notes here that I've got on him. He preferred soft, diffused light from one direction, avoiding harsh shadows, which gives a timeless feel. Which, again, like I said, there's not a strong light source on this. And again, I could probably stop right now and be fine for a study, but I'm going to keep going. Well, I started to say I'll go till 12:30, but it's almost 12:30. My time. I'm in Central. I'm still feeling Some of these petals are not. Especially on this one over here. Yeah, they were, I mean, they ranged from, you know, like thinner to about like, you know, an inch or two to, you know, like that thick. And the more you ground on them, the more, the thinner they would get over time. And we were told that once they were gone, the school was not going to purchase anymore because they were the stone. I can't remember if it had become so expensive or if it just was not available anymore. My son-in-law made me a little printing press. 3D printed it. I haven't really used it much lately. This makes me want to get it out and play with it. I miss seeing my son-in-law. That's for another day. Let's see. His lithographs were very different from his paintings. He allowed himself more freedom and imagination. Using tonal contrast and flowing lines to evoke the rhythm of Wagner and Berlioz. He treated lithographs like visual music, less rigid than his painted still lifes. I'm thinking I need to go find a good example. There should be a link in the description to more information on him, and I'm assuming that there would be information on his lithographs at the site. I don't want you to leave. I just for FYI. I don't want to. I tend to go down rabbit holes. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little better about that rose. Key characteristics of his techniques. He built from years of copying old masters. He was sincere. He said he wasn't chasing fashion, but truth in form and color. His still lifes are precise and realistic. Like I said, while his lithographs are dreamy and symbolic. He liked to work on a very smooth surface. So he would, if he were working, I assume, with today's materials, he would have been sanding the primer in between layers. And when he started, he would have done just like we did. Either sketched it lightly in charcoal or diluted paint, marking positions of main shapes, which is what we did. Did an underpainting, block in large masses, which is what we did. And then he would let that dry and then use thin, transparent washes to set tones or values before the details. He went more after atmosphere. His edges were soft. And the reason I'm thinking of that, whoops, is I have some very hard edges here. I think I need to soften them. Just so they're not like falling off a cliff, it's more like sliding off a couch. That's the best analogy I think I can come up with. My notes, it says pay attention to transitions. Petals should melt into light, not cut sharply. So again, sliding off the couch rather than dropping off a cliff. His palette, he used subtle pinks, whites, soft yellows, gentle greens. He avoided overly bright artificial colors. Harmony mattered more than drama. Shadows should enrich, not dominate. Slight tonal value changes in depth in the background, but it should be understated so that the flowers come out. On finishing touches, refine edges where needed, but don't over outline. Strengthen focal blossoms. Let others remain a bit subdued, as in Real Vision. I'm thinking this one right here is maybe too sharp. Trying to blur that a little bit in there. Soften that up. Step back often. His still lifes feel balanced because he adjusted the whole and not the parts. So just like traditionally, you would work from big shapes to small shapes, and you would not focus in on one spot really tightly. You would work it overall. That's what he did as well. I think I got this a little too. really like what we have here. This should probably be up higher, but I'm going to leave it. And make minor adjustments to it. This is really awesome. I'm adding some red in here because I don't want my darks to be really flat. I want there to be a little bit of variation in there. And I see that this width is too wide, but I'm going to leave it. And on your screen, this background looks lighter on the original. The whole thing looks lighter. I wonder if I need to adjust my... Let me go in here and see if we can, or I can. No, nothing's been changed on there. Leave it alone. You can see, like in here, sorry, that's what happened when I was trying to change the flick is what when I was trying to mess with the white values, or white balance. It goes away. It goes away here. Well, I thought it did. It did. Why are you doing it? Come on. That. I think I quit. I needed to wrap up anyway. If you can still hear me, I'm gonna go ahead and consider this finished because it was getting really close. Anyway, I am just picking at it. I want you to have to stare at a flickering screen. I don't think I have information on Latour. That was all I had. That was all I had. I'm gonna take this off. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming by. Truly, I do. This was a fun one. I like this. I like how this turned out. And I will put the final image up on goodness, I quit. I don't think it's going to. Okay, I'm gonna. You can see what it is there between flickers if you're still here. Go ahead and go. So, and I'll fill this in with the information and the date and all that stuff. So I will see you later. Thank you for being here and take care. Be safe. I would appreciate a like and subscribe.